a few boys have come to football because they're scared or they're involved in stuff out, and they've got guns and knives in their football bag, and we're having to like, no.
And they're supposed to have boots in there.
Yeah, you can't I like you and I want you to, but you can't be here like that because you're endangering all the other guys. But at the same time, you don't want to lose them because you got to protect the group, but you don't want to lose them
because you could generally lose them.
Exactly.
Life,
so you have to say, look, you can't come here like that. But at the same time, I want you to be here. Do you know, it's hard like to toe the line, and obviously like you touched on with young Rio, that father lost his life at I think 17 or 18, I think he was. So just at the start of his life, really. The difference for me is he wasn't just another one of the boys who we had. I knew him since he was born because his older brother was one of my close friends.
So, LITC podcast, episode 4. Here we have Gavin Rose.
Well, how you doing, man?
How you doing, brother? Like this is a bit weird, and because you're my friend, I feel a bit. I don't know. I've done the podcast before, but this one I feel a bit nervous because obviously I know you. I know your story.
Growing up on a council estate, and to me that was quite fun. You know, obviously everyone sort of looks at that in a negative way, but I'll get some good friends along the way. Learn some really good life lessons along the way. And so, I'd say, to be fair, I'm happy with my upbringing. I'm happy with how things. I think a lot of people probably have grown up like that as well. Having a little sister at the time, I just felt that I was responsible for her as like a man. But even though I was like 12, 13, do you know what I mean?
Where's that come from? You know, when you just like no one's ever spoke to that about you. Do you think it's just something that's within you? Where's that come from? Where you feel like, well, I'm the man. I have to be responsible. Is it something your father, even though you weren't with him, was it something he used to say to you, or was it just something that was just natural for you?
No, I think it was more natural. But again, sometimes we do things and we don't even know how it's come that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think life can teach you what you actually are in life. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was one of the aspects that
I like that. Life, say that again. Life can teach you what you actually are in life. Yeah. So continue. So growing up.
Yeah. So I believe that like having younger siblings shaped me to sort of think that I had to set a good example. Had to help my mum obviously financially and stuff like that. Had to try and be a leader to show an example for them sort of coming forward. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't perfect. Do you know what I mean? But I felt that I tried to give that example and do the best I could. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. So what was like schooling like? What was school like for you?
I weren't the greatest in school.
No.
But all the teachers who probably, if they saw me now, they'd be thinking, we didn't even think you'd ever amount to anything. Do you know what I mean? Because I was always kind of getting in trouble, didn't always seem focused. None of my school reports would say not capable, always would be capable. It was more down to me. Like, did I take it seriously enough? Definitely not. And my mind and focus wasn't in getting GCSEs and going on to uni. That was never something that made me go, I want to do that. Do you know what I mean?
And why do you think that was so? Why do you think, like, when you say you was never really in it with school, what was that? Was it your peer groups? Did you get on with your friends at school? What was it that just wasn't clicking?
To be fair, I think it's weird because I was thinking I did well just to finish school because a lot of my friends got kicked out early. Like, do you know what I mean?
What school did you go?
Aikens.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of my friends from my area got kicked out of school early. Do you know what I mean? And so I thought I was doing well, but actually just being at school. Do you know what I mean? I suppose that's where you see, like, I was in a single parent household. Maybe if I had my dad in the house, then he could have given me that little bit of steel to say, like, no, you're going to school to actually achieve X, Y, and Z. Do you know what I mean? My mum was still doing that, but she was having to juggle so many plates. So I think I would say personally, school, I underachieved because I was capable, but I was focused on football. I was focused on probably some other stupid things that I shouldn't have really been focused on.
Like what were the other stupid things? I just want to know, like, for our audience.
I got caught up in silly things around the area.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? A lot of my friends, my peer group was older than me. I was never pressured because I was quite strong-minded, but obviously you do things that you probably shouldn't do. Probably say I was quite fortunate not to go too far with it.
Yeah.
Because I'm strong-minded.
Yeah.
And decided like, you know what, focus on something positive. And I thought football was like, you know what, I can probably do something with this and keep myself on the straight and narrow. Like, if not, I think a lot of people from my sort of background would say the same thing. Like, without a focus.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
It's done.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, so football. So right, tell me about the football. So that was something that you had a real love and passion for football from a young age.
Yeah, I did. I played obviously really young. I played up, like with boys 2 years older than me. I was really small.
You know what? Sorry, can I'm interjecting. Like, so for people that don't know, like we're talking about football. So you said your dad wasn't really around. So how did you get into it? Was it just like, just hanging around with your mates and you just get a ball and you kick ball and you find a love for it? How did you? I think tell people that. How did you get into
I think back in the day, like everyone used to play with everyone, innit? So you go to school, you go in the school playground, and it wasn't like you're just playing with your age group. Like if you didn't even know you're good, but you join in and like, he's actually good. And you're playing with boys 2 years older than you, 3 years older than you. And then because everyone's sort of like boosting you up and saying, he's good, you start thinking, I like this. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's probably like the seed. And then from there on in, like back on my estate, like we play football for hours. Like there was no kind of rules to it or whatever like that, but we played for hours and you grew a love for it. And I got most of my friends started off because of football. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
We played football together. And then obviously life happens. Some people don't continue with the football but we're still friends. We're rooted as friends, you know what I mean? So that's what football was for me. But I decided that, you know what, all right, maybe I had a little bit of talent and I thought, no, let me try and pursue it. There were times where it was difficult because the better you were, the more football wanted from you. Do you know what I mean? So you have to go travel to X, Y, and Z professional club. Then you got to get this bus from school, do you know what I mean? There were times where they were putting on cars for us. There was about 4 or 5 of my friends. We went to the same club. It was at Charlton. And then that stopped at a certain age because I think like you're old enough to get it on your own. But like most kids were getting their parents drop them. So we started to see the social differences already.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But at the time, you didn't really look into it that much. But then it was like, now, things are a lot harder for us than it is for some other guys. Do you know what I mean? They turn out, mum and dad are there at training, not even matches, training. I'm going on my own. You know?
Yeah. And what was that like when you actually start to see that?
Do you know what? I think you don't realise it at the time because your brain can't compute what's actually going on. Do you know what I mean? But as you get older, you realise, wow, like it's not a level playing field.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And then like, say something goes wrong, like the coaches might speak to you a certain way, or something might not happen right. I ain't got no one to speak for me. And I wouldn't know how to sort of articulate myself with a big man, a grown man. It can be intimidating.
Yeah, of course.
So a lot of things would go by the wayside. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that. And what would you put that down to? Would you put that down to social class? Would you put that down to race, like in terms of...
I think the two correlate.
Yeah.
Because obviously on the estate, we had different backgrounds. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a black background on our estate.
Yeah.
So definitely socially, it wasn't, it's just black people on this estate.
Yeah.
There was Irish, Turkish, Chinese. There was so many different multicultural, you know what I mean? But it still had a little bit to do with race. Do you know what I mean? Because again, we got to speak openly. Like a lot of black fathers wasn't really around. Do you know what I mean? I think probably nowadays, probably the numbers are better. Do you know what I mean?
But because we've gone through our dads not being around. So
exactly.
Well, for me anyway, it's made me think that I want to
try and do it properly. So I would say that's probably changed because of our experiences. But at that point, there wasn't a lot of black dads around. So it is a bit of race, culture, and then social as well.
Yeah, okay. And like, because I'm looking back and even like, I remember when I was playing football, like, I remember like literally going to my first match, and my mum weren't taking me. Like, do you know what I mean? She was at home and whatnot. And I remember getting there like 45 minutes late because I didn't know the way. Yeah. And I remember like it really impacted me. Yeah. I was crying. Like there wasn't no ifs or buts about it. I was proper crying and just feeling, I don't know, I never had that person. Like my mum done the best she can, but you know, that's
like
confidence.
a cheerleader.
Yeah,
like a cheerleader.
hanging around you. Don't worry, son. Like, she can't do that. Do you get what I mean? So I definitely understand where you're coming from with that. So yeah. So continue. You were saying about like going to like Charlton. You were saying going to the club.
Yeah. So going to clubs, and then obviously I went to other clubs, and it's just the further it was, the more harder it was. You know what I mean? Like when I was 15, I was going to school at Bacon, obviously, and my friend's dad would drive us up to the training ground at Millwall. So you think Millwall, the training must be in Bermondsey? No, it was like, you know what I mean? For me, it was far.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
When you're young, it seems like, seems like another world.
So if my friend's dad weren't dropping me, I don't know how I'm getting there. Do you know what I mean? And it seemed like an obscure place. I was just like, this ain't happening. So there were a few times where he was like, yeah, no, I can't make it. It's like, we weren't going. Do you know what I mean? So like, really and truly, that could have been looked at like, you're not always here. Actually, like,
of course.
Scrambling. Like,
circumstances.
Exactly,
yeah. Okay, so you're 15, like, walk us through. So the progression, got finishing school, going into football.
I didn't get a scholarship, which is what my heart was sort of set on. I wanted to be a YTS at the time. That's what it was called. And so I was a little bit lost. And that's the point where I thought, do you know what I mean? I was getting attracted to the wrong things again a little bit, But I had a few, like, luckily that we always need people around us. And I had a few people, elders, who were positive, and they were like, look, come on, like, stay with it. Do you know what I mean? Like now I called him my family. There's a guy called Kenny. He was actually dating my older cousin, and he played football semi-professional.
Okay.
And they were sort of saying like, he didn't get his scholarship, and like we were a bit worried that, you know, he might go down the wrong path. And he was like, no, let him come with me. I'll bring him to football with me. So he took me to Sutton, and I think I was 15 when I first went there, but I just went for training. I was still at Millwall. I went for training, and then they were cool. They let me train with the first team, all that. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
But he was literally on the car journeys. He'd pick me up at my house. So straight away, he's alleviated so many problems and dropped me home. But the car journeys, he would say some like really impactful things to me. Do you know what I mean? Like just about perseverance and looking in the mirror. Or if you want to, you know, why are you not a pro? Why are you not you got to do X, Y, and Z? And like, I don't know if he even knew that the impact he had on me. But it was so positive, like them hours in the car with him, back and forward. And then when I was at football, and if I wasn't working as hard as I probably could, then he'd be like, what are you talking about?
So it's that even like you said, he didn't know the impact. It's like having that father figure, that male role that sometimes you need. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. When my mum could say the same words to me, but
the effect's different.
It's
like a man. I think even my oldest daughter will say, like, when I talk, the tone of a man's voice sort of seems to command a different respect for a child. And like, this guy's a big guy, Kenny's a big guy, and the tone of his voice is almost like you kind of have to listen. Do you know what I mean? And I think boys in particular need that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he used to speak to me, and I think most of the things he used to say was like, look in the mirror. What can you do to make the difference? Do you know what I mean?
And what age was that?
16, 17, 8, like, do you know what I mean? Essentially, I never ever got to my dream. I flirted with professional football, but I never really got to my dream. I never did what I wanted to do. But like, it shaped me. That little period shaped me from thinking, you know what? The road's an option. It's not an option for me. Like, it made me go, no, this is not an option for me. There's better out there for me. If I'm not a footballer, I can still be something without going down the wrong path. And that's what it done for me. It was like a little moment of, what way are you going to go in life? Do you know what I mean? So I'll always credit Kenny for giving me that time. Do you know what I mean?
One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, who would you say were the biggest influences? Like, would you say if you could choose 3 of the biggest influences within your life to date, who would they be? And I don't know, is Kenny one of them?
I think I didn't even think of it like that. You know what I mean? But he probably would be in terms of like that pivotal moment. But my mum, obviously, hands down.
And you know what? Like, a lot of times, I suppose when we're coming from single parent families, a lot of my peers will say, "Oh, my mum," and then you're like, "Okay, we know, but why? Like, why would you say your mum? What is it about your mum?"
So, say for instance, everyone's different. Like, but being a single parent on a council, a lot of people have been in it. So it's not like new. It's not, but it's the way you do things. I think it's the way you handle the situation you're in. So my mum never made it like beer. Do you know what I mean? She's always quite positive, and she made sure that we were positive. Like this is a start. It's not the end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she always had that spirit about her. And like funny, she came to a lot of my games early on, and one time, this is how my mum was like. Played a game and the opposition fouled me, right? And well, nothing bad, but I was on the floor for a bit longer than probably she thought I should be.
Yeah.
She's run on the pitch like, tell her, man, get off the pitch. Like, she's running on the pitch like, what are you doing? And that brought about, like, she was from Brixton originally. I was seeing like the rough edges of her, Do you know what I mean? But she was very protective and very like, you know, like it's us. Do you know what I mean? And I think like that showed me like my nan lived with me for the last 10 years of her life. When my nan first moved in, I loved her like nothing, but I was like, why is she living with us? Because like, I'm English, innit? Why is she living with? Mum's like, no, that's not how we do things. You know what I mean? We're family orientated. You know, and as soon as I understood, I was like, oh, of course. Like, you know what I mean? I bought into it, and you know, I was lucky enough to have my nan live with me that long before she passed, you know what I mean? So she's just like examples of how we should be in life. My mum is that. Not so much a talk about action person. And like give me a good example of how we should be in the example.
You know what's you know, as you get older, we look at hindsight, and it's really funny, like you saying some of the things when you're younger that you think, oh, my mum's such a jar, that's so embarrassing. As you get older, you're like, you know what, my mum was heavy. Like, my mum was quality and it instilled this in me. But at a certain time in life, you can't see it. You go through life and you can't see certain things. And it's only later on in life when you can look back, like, oh, I understand it. And even more so when you have your own children or your own child, you understand it, you know what I mean? So, you were saying your mum was like one of the main role models in your life. What, is there anyone else? Any other influences?
Do you know what? It's hard to pick out like one or two people.
Cool. So just generally.
Role models. No, it's hard because there's a lot of good people. I'll tell you, like another person who helped me. You met Michael Columbus.
Yeah.
And like what we've done since leaving Michael, I worked at the Adventure Playground, across the road from me in Peckham, and he was also trying to help me fill my time because I'm not a full-time footballer now. You know what I mean? So I have still got a lot of time on my hands. And he was like, no, come. I think you can help us. Like,
and what age was that?
17, something like
that.
But he's like, Gav, I haven't got no money, but like just help the kids in it, like do a football session with them. Like he was just occupying my time, so I was doing something positive. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, cool. And I loved doing it. I loved helping. I loved chatting to the boys and that. Do you know what I mean? And hearing them tell me, like, sometimes they'll tell you certain things that was close to them, but they trusted you to tell you. You know what I mean? So Michael, I don't know if he saw something in me what I didn't see at the time, but he kind of really encouraged me to go down a positive way. And like I said, he said, like, Gav, we ain't got no money, but like, see how you go. Like, but every now and again, he'd slip me a £5. And it didn't matter if the £5 wasn't a lot. It didn't matter. It was just the fact that in his heart,
he saw something in you.
Yeah. And then that materialized afterwards in like kids doing really well with football. We built a team, and then he got the council to actually employ me. That was never like in my head. I was like, I used to go here. We used to disrespect some of the play workers. Do you know what I mean? And then now I'm going to be a play worker. I'm thinking I ain't going to take no check from no kid. That's how I'm thinking. But he was like, no, don't look at it like that. You're not going to have that problem because they see you like them. The kids see you like them. So you're never going to have that obstacle. Do you know what I mean?
And you're saying, so that's like around in your teenage years, right?
Yeah.
So how old were the kids that you were like working with?
Like they're literally 13, 14, some 15, because they've known me. Some of these kids have grown up with me, do you know what I mean? So again, like it was a weird one. It was a weird one.
Like,
but
responsibility at a young age. Like,
that's what it done for me. It made me take on responsibility because now they're looking at me in this capacity. I can't be bringing no nonsense to them because obviously I'm a bad example. So it just made me like do the right thing. Do you know what I mean?
But like obviously knowing you and like hearing some of the stuff that I don't know, you can see how you are, who you are, if that makes sense. Like in terms of even you saying you being the eldest out of your siblings, feeling like you have to be the man of the house. It seems that from a young age, regardless of whatever you've done, you've had to be responsible for people. And in the same example, you're saying your mum used to set, she would lead by example. She would just do things. It seems like that's something, that's a mantra that you've taken on yourself. Do you know what I mean? Just correlating and putting it all together.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, like my dad, he was still about, you know what I mean? He wasn't in my house, but my dad was a leader as well. And he was also, he was good at bringing everyone in a sense. Like, so not like I'm leading and leave everyone down there. So he was like, we're stronger in numbers type of person. So I think I picked that up from him as well.
Yeah,
you know
and it was because like, we didn't really speak about your dad. So you said your dad grew up in Brixton. What was your, like, what did your dad do? Like profession or whatnot?
No, he wasn't a professional.
I know, but I thought I'd answer the camera. So you're just Brixton guy. Yeah.
So my dad was from Jamaica, obviously, and a lot of the guys from Jamaica settled in Brixton. He first came to Balham, as a few people did, and then settled in Brixton. And obviously, we know about the front line. He was one of the.
I don't know about the front line. I don't know about the front. Well, I know about the front line, but I don't think my audience do. So if you could elaborate, what's the front line?
In Brixton, there was like a lot of the guys who used to. They play a lot of music, sell drugs, etc., etc.
Oh, okay.
It was the place to be for like Jamaican people who lived in Brixton or from that area, and
so there was a little community there, obviously, regardless of what they were doing, but that was their little.
That was their community. Yeah. It wasn't just about drugs.
But that's their little spot.
Exactly, it's where people felt comfortable. You have your Caribbean food you come and get and stuff like that. Everything was in that little one hub.
So they kept their culture that was going.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So we've come from Jamaica, and this is what we know. So we're just operating that way. And a lot of them felt like no matter how much we try, we can't get a proper job.
Yeah,
we're getting treated a bit rare. Do you know what I mean? So they just decided to start their own enterprise. You know what I mean?
Like that. And what years was that? Would you say when your dad was like out in Brixton and all that? Like what sort of decade? I'm just trying to get a timeline.
70s.
70s.
Onto 80s, 90s. So
like, did you ever speak to your dad about what it was like those times, like growing up?
As in them areas, in them times.
When we know what it was like us being in Peckham.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm trying to paint a picture. Like I want. Like,
Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah. He basically said he came over to get opportunities. England, the land of sort of
opportunities. That's what they tell us.
Exactly. So he's then realised that after I'm going for jobs, nothing's happening, and also like it's not down to skill. It's just like you're black. Do you know what I mean? And then the Jamaican side probably comes out. He's like, I ain't taking that. Like, do you know what I mean? And he was just like, look, need to make ends meet. I'm coming there to be successful, so I'm going to be successful. Do you know what I mean? And obviously a few like-minded people like him as well. And they just done the best they could in whatever.
In their situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you see, like, do you see looking at your own childhood or growing up, adolescent years, do you see any similarities? So when you were saying they had their little community, they've come over, do you see any of those similarities with your own peer groups when, like, do you know what I mean? Because it's funny, the reason I'm saying this, because you talk about, like, I don't know, you said Kenny, right?
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of, you always hear this saying, I don't know, it takes a community to raise a child or whatnot. And do you know what I mean? People have to create their own communities. And I'm looking at it now, like, and I'm saying, do you see similarities from your dad's generation to our generation now, especially taking into fact football? So when you're looking at, there wasn't much opportunities, not because of the skill, because of...
Things have moved on.
Yeah.
So the conversation isn't about maybe what it was like then. It's just the fact that there's more opportunities. Like the opportunities now are different to what it was then. Do you know what I mean? So things have moved on. But the argument maybe 30 years ago would have been like, the black guys can't really get a game. They can't get a chance. Maybe that was the conversation. Whereas now that isn't the conversation. Do you know what I mean? So things have changed on because, life moves on. The country's evolved in certain aspects. So definitely there was a ceiling on opportunity for black players. There's guys older than me would say like, you know what? I was better than so-and-so. No chance. Like, do you know what I mean? They've told us them stories and we've heard them. And then I suppose my generation and even definitely younger have probably, reaped the benefits of what's happened before. Do you know what I mean? And they're having great careers and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So the conversation has changed a little bit. And I think people have been more determined in a sense to go, no, we're not going to give up at the first hurdle. Back in the day, it was like, you know what, this is not happening. And even parents from back in the day would have said, forget football.
Yeah, one of them ones, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Just crack on, go and get a job.
Yeah, forget all that. Do you know what I mean? So I think, there's definitely similarities. It's just a different conversation. Yeah. And the obstacles are a little bit different.
Yeah. So in terms of your peer groups, so you're going down this path, so you went to school, some of your friends, I assume that you're all trying to play football and whatnot. You're saying you wasn't really hitting your dreams. What did some of your other friends do? What was their journey?
Yeah, they were now, obviously a lot of my friends are still my friends now, as you probably know. And they were just straight on crime. You know what I mean? Because obviously everyone's household's different.
Yeah.
And some of them needed to do certain things because they needed to feed themselves and they needed to, do you know what I mean? And obviously as well, in our background, what you've got is important. Because it's almost like we're trying to get this identity. We're trying to get an identity of who we are and what we are.
And we take more pride in things than actually you know what, Gav? It's mad, I've got friends, but you got friends and it's they take pride in the wrong things. Do you know what I mean? You want to take pride in actual materials, but then what about your morals? What about, you owe me money? Do you know what I mean? What about, where's the pride there? Do you know
it's just because we're not taught, you know, and sometimes you've got to teach yourself in life. But obviously, again, we're talking about that social thing, but if you don't grow up in a nice area where you don't have, when you come out your house, you're like, you know what, it could go off. Do you know what I mean? When you ain't got those sort of pressures going on, and you have got mum and dad, they can take you here, there, and ever. You get to learn about life because you're learning from them and your environment. But in this environment, you're basically on your toes. You're basically learning for yourself. And there's some things that even your parent can't tell you. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't even know what's really going on. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I think a lot of the times we can look at people and say they're doing the wrong thing and they're looking at the wrong thing, but no one showed them what to look at and why to look at it and why not to look at that. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, if you need to eat, you need to put food in your mouth, then do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And do you think it's your experience? Because when you're saying this stuff, I feel like I know these things at this stage in my life. At those stages, you don't really know. You're just doing because you're like, this is what I've got to do. And you don't really, unless, like you say, you have role models or you have certain people that can come, put arm around you and say, come away from that. But then in saying that, Gav, I remember there was always role models in the manor. There was always someone that would say,
the elders, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? Because people act like everyone's trying to groom you and get you on madness, but
there was also good guys. Yeah. And the weirdest thing about my area is that boys 4 or 5 years older than me, the big guys and that, they were on stuff, but they just wasn't encouraging us to be on stuff. Whereas things changed after, and then that became, the older guys were saying, well, get the kids on it. Yeah. But them older boys weren't on that. They were like, don't watch what we're on. Yeah. So they were cool, but we were still, do you know what I mean? You don't really always listen to stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that. So for yourself, so you're getting qualified now. Did any of your friends go on into professional football? The people that you grew up with that used to play football, did any of them go into football?
Yeah, obviously from our area, we had a few boys go pro. I played football with Jason. Obviously, we played in the same team. Jason ended up having a good career in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Rio, obviously, was on my estate. A couple of years younger than me. Obviously, tight, as you know. Obviously, everyone knows that Rio's career.
You know what? Not everyone, you know what I mean? With our crowd, not everyone knows about football.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
So, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Now, but obviously, Rio's someone that is not just football now. He's on the telly.
Yeah, so he's elevated.
Yeah. But he's obviously, I saw his whole career journey and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But there was other guys like Nigel Quashie I played with as well, and Nigel done well. So it was people, we were starting to think this can happen. This dream can happen.
Of course.
Maybe a few years before, maybe a few years before that, you couldn't really see many. But then in my generation, you started to see people. So you're like, this can happen. Yeah. And obviously, when I came to terms with, it's not happening for me, I still knew it could happen. So my thing was can I help some other people see their dream and live their dream?
Most
definitely. Because I know it can happen. If you do the right things, and obviously then what was I missing at certain times? I was missing someone helping me and telling me this is what you need to do at the vital time. So I wanted to be that person for other
the younger ones. You know what? I remember speaking to a friend, and I remember hearing that they said, you can't be what you can't see. And I remember thinking, you know what, that's really on point, in terms of just school. I know when we grew up in school, not to make it about race, but all our teachers were white, maybe not from London or whatnot. Yeah. So you might not think I can be a teacher. Do you know what I mean? I remember when we was younger, even like there wasn't that many black players. So if I support Tottenham, I'm like, oh, like, I don't want to be him. He's a defender. He's crap. I don't want to say I'm him. Yeah. And then I'm saying, oh, I'm Gary Lineker. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, and then as I got older, I'm like, Gary Lineker's white. I'm black. Like I can't be Gary Lineker. Do you know what I mean? But it makes me really think about like what you're saying, like when your peer groups started going on, started becoming professional footballers and that. When you can see it, you can be it. When you can't see it, it's very hard to even imagine that you can be that. Do you know what I mean? So it's really poignant what you're saying. So so some of your peer groups went on into, and how did that make you feel, like them going on and like elevating within football?
Proud, you know what I mean? Like I think our community is one that if you're playing football, so have I in a sense. Mm-hmm. Not in terms of I'm living your life, but just like
he's one of us.
It's one of us. Yeah. You're living out your dreams. Yeah, but we're living with you because we're like, if you make a mistake, we're feeling that, and if you score a goal, we're feeling that. All that sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the kind of like what our area is like. Do you know what I mean? And even the boys on the road, they're all saying, like that's us. You're representing us. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something to be proud of. Do you know what I mean? Because to be honest with you, no one doesn't really want to go out and do badness. It's almost like this is our way out. Mm-hmm. So if you see someone doing something positive from your manner, you're happy about it.
Yeah, of course. And in terms of so Michael, you're at the Adventure Playground. Yeah, you're working. I think you touched upon like you got a job with the council. So I'm thinking you've come out of school, you're doing this little bit of work. Where does it go from there? How do you get the job? How do you get qualified? What's the whole process?
Yeah, when I left school, I flirted with college. I went to college, but I wasn't really serious because in my head I'm thinking I should be playing football every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm going there like college? Business and finance. Yeah. But really. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I wish really I gave it a go. You know what I mean at the time. But then in that time I'm doing volunteer work at the Adventure, and then it becomes a job. But to get the job, I had to go on some courses. Do you know what I mean? And Michael was, again, he had to kind of like, no, come on, because I was putting it off. I was like, but I was like, I'm going to do this. Anyway, I'd done it, and I'd done the next course. And then after a little while, I was like, you know what? I don't mind doing courses now. But at that time, I was like, I just want to do the work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But then, he was so encouraging, man. Like, I got so much time for Michael. It wasn't just me. He influenced a lot of people. Very positive, very understanding person. You could chat to Michael, you know. And like he seed what he put down in me and others, then flourished onto more other people. And there's younger people now doing great work because of that seed that he planted. So
so brilliant. Respect for him. And so you said you're starting to get qualified now. So where are you at now? Like, so you're starting to get qualified, getting qualifications in terms of doing, was it youth work or what was it?
Yeah, youth work.
So are you starting to get fixated? Are you starting to feel like, all right, this is a career I'm going to choose?
Because I knew that I didn't possibly just want to be like a youth worker. Do you know what I mean? So obviously football's still the passion. I was still playing football. It's not like I stopped playing. I was playing semi-professional. So I thought I still want to probably gear it back to football. So I spoke to Michael about that actually, because it was like, I was doing generic courses, which meant I could obviously do the work I was doing at that time. But I was like, but it's not going anywhere where it makes me get excited about it. So I was saying, look, I probably want to do more football-based stuff. And he was like, no, that's fine. So he got me on a coaching course, the first level 1 coaching course. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was young doing it.
How old?
I was about 19, 89, something like that. Yeah. And that's when I first met Jim Hicks. You remember Jim Hicks at Millwall? He used to run. Yeah. Really good guy. And Jim, again, was quite encouraging. He was like, oh, yeah, keep going at it, stuff like that. And I sort of went through the qualifications in a decent amount of time.
How did you find it? Like, was it something?
The first course was just people from the area, community. So like-minded people like me. Do you know what I mean? As the courses got more difficult and more like the qualification was more, in a sense, prestigious, then I'm mixing with different people. People who have been ex-professionals. People don't really financially need this job to make them. Do you know what I mean? They're fine. They're fine. Probably haven't met someone like from my background and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Which was good because it's the uncomfortable again. It's being uncomfortable and knowing how to communicate in that environment. And and get along with everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at times you could feel like, because I wasn't a professional, you could feel like the tutors were a little bit siding with the professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But then they weren't going, look, we're all equal here. Like, you was a professional, but now we're all trying to be coaches. So we're all equal. Because some of the professionals were terrible.
Coaching,
Yeah, because your talent in football doesn't always correlate to coaching.
Of course.
Some of them are terrible, but they were getting pats on the back. I'm going,
What's that all about? A lot of favouritism going on.
Yeah, so sometimes, again, you can concentrate on the negative, and there was times I'd be like, no, what's going on? Like, it's almost disheartening.
So when you say you was like, what's going on, did you ever approach, or was it just within?
No, within, because already you're thinking, they don't even think you should be in this environment. Do you know what I mean? So it was like sitting down going, hold on a minute, is this a joke? Like,
and how do you think, like, because I know what comes to mind when I think about it. Like, so that's within. How do you think that, how did that transmit? Do you think it transmitted to anyone else? Because what I'm thinking about is when you say that, you know, like, he's got a chip on his shoulder. Do you know what I mean? Like,
because I went to my school, Bacon, obviously it wasn't all black school. So I understood how to navigate all that stuff. I've heard all those things. So I understood that, I know how to disprove all that shit. You know what I mean? So I basically would never give someone that. I would never give you that easy out. So facially, you would never know that I was bothered about anything like that. But inside, I was thinking, this guy has been a great football player, but he's not a coach. And you're giving him pats on the back and stuff like that. Okay. And then I've been coaching for a long time now, and I know I'm ahead of a lot of these guys. But that's because I've been coaching. They've not been coaching, so it's normal. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, well done. So I decided that at a point that, you know what, I'm not worried about what you think. I had to take the narrative back to myself, because if I concentrate on how you're reacting, then I could be anywhere. So I was just like, you know what, no, I don't worry about what you think. As long as I know, Gav, you could have done a bit better and this, a bit better than that, then I'll be honest with myself. Or if I thought I was good on that time, then I was good. That's it. Do you know what I mean?
What about in terms of, so obviously you're doing the coaching courses, I take it you're working in the adventure.
And at that point, I think, is when me and your cousin obviously started working together, Junior.
But like, I'm saying, what I want to know is, like, financially, how was you getting by financially up until that point? Yeah,
it wasn't like life-changing money at the adventure at all. And obviously, some of my friends were making some decent money, not even the footballers, just some of my other friends were making decent money. So there was a little bit of a, something's got to give. But weirdly, like, I was getting a lot of encouragement from my friends, all my soldiers. Like, you know what, you're helping the kids. Like, it's good. So it was almost like I might not be making loads of money, but there was something was balancing out. Like, you're actually helping. Like, you know what I mean? So I decided to just persevere with that. Do you know what I mean? And then I was saying, like, the exit, it needs to be elevated now, so I can create job opportunities. And that's where we went to specifics on coaching. And like I said, me and Junior started working together. We were obviously friends before we started working together. We thought of this concept of kids leaving school, the ones like us. You leave school, didn't have a scholarship. Drew had a scholarship, but he didn't have a scholarship. And then what do you do then? Do you know what I mean? You can be like, anything can happen. So we was like, why don't we set something up for them? They train like professionals, but they go to college full time as well. And it just gives them 2 career paths. Do you know what I mean? We didn't really know, like, how successful it was, but we just had no fear. Like, I literally had no fear. It was like, this is going to work. Like, you know, and the first year we started it, we had 2 boys going to professional football.
We're going to hold that there, So we're going to get back to that part. We're going to get back to that point, but I want to know, because obviously you're having your own experiences. Was you still playing football at the time? Was you still playing semi? Right, so you're working, you're playing semi-professional football. You got mates that are professional footballers. You got mates that are on the road. You got mates that are just labouring, working and whatnot. Because obviously it's about, I suppose, young people and seeing how they can relate to you and the experiences you had. So have you got any stories about some of the experiences you had with your mates, like, at the time? Like, I'm saying, everything you're going through that's shaped you to be able to then talk to a young person, to be able then to relate to a young person, because anyone can talk to a young person, but how do you relate? Have you ever been in a situation, I don't know, like, where, I don't know, with girls, or have you ever been in a situation you've got in trouble, whatever it may be, like, so, like, have you got anything? I don't know what you're laughing, I don't know anything, like, but I'm saying, how do you Like, do you know what I mean? Is there anything you can say from your own experience which is like, "Raw, this happened," and do you know what I mean?
Yeah, when we was in our early 20s, I suppose that was probably the most dangerous time because my friendship circle or group was so vast. Like, from 1 minute I'm talking to someone who's just great guy, like clean living. Then I'm talking to a footballer who's in the Premier League, and I'm talking to my friends on the street. You know what I mean? It's like literally across the board, and I could be literally in the same day, like, you know what I mean? Moving the same. So I'd find myself in different environments. Do you know what I mean? But obviously you're young, and you know, fashion, girls, etc. Do you know what I mean? So we would find ourselves in positions where probably was a bit risky. We're a bit lucky that we got away with things, you know, going to clubs, maybe drinking too much, getting to maybe fights, altercations. Especially when you're drunk, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
You're not always like, do you know what I mean? But I suppose the biggest wake up was we went to Anapa.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I don't know about this, but yeah.
Yeah, we went to Anapa, and obviously every day, morning and night, you're drinking. Loads of friends there. We had our core group there, but we had loads of friends there.
And that's a party. That people just go to Napa to party, isn't it?
So you're waking up, you're drinking all the way through, that sort of thing. And obviously, we were video cameraing. We were video cameraing, do you know what I mean?
I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I do know what you're talking about, obviously.
One of our friends were video cameraing, and really shouldn't have been doing it.
So basically, you've got a bunch of girls back, you lot are having a bit of fun and whatnot. Your mates recording.
But then obviously someone's realised that we're video cameraing, and because obviously someone's in the tape, they've taken it, and this made us wake up like, whoa, you know what I mean? We need to, when we're out, we need to be a little bit more on our P's and Q's. And to be honest with you, from there, I kind of patterned up when I was out.
So when you say, like, obviously we don't need to mention any names. When you say like someone's taped it, what, has it gone like viral? Well, was it internet then? What's that?
Yeah. It got sold to the newspapers and all that.
So basically they're like, professional footballers doing this. So that was a big thing. And what was that like? So obviously it was I know what happened, but I'm saying it was in the papers and that. What was national, it like? It went national papers. What was it?
It's like? Embarrassing because back on the ends it's like, raw. Do you know what I mean? And also, normally you'd retaliate, but then you can't retaliate because it implicates people and all that. Do you know what I mean? So like, there was all that sort of thing that you almost like having to hold that, and then at the same time you're like, what are you man doing? Like, do you know what I mean? It's embarrassing. Then you just got to explain to your mum. Like,
that's what I wanted to tell you. What's that like? Because you know, a lot of times, like, even if you do certain things on the road or you get nicked or whatever, like, to be honest, no one's scared of, like, it's not even the police.
Not bothered
like, your mum. Like, what's that like to look at your mum and say, well, what it was, and she's reading it in the paper and whatnot. What's that feeling like to actually having to explain these?
To be honest with you, I don't think any of us cared. Not saying we're not lawless or anything like that. I don't think anyone else grew up caring about the police. I don't think anyone cared like or felt safer for the police anyway. So there was not a lot of respect there for the police. It was just your parents. And obviously, for me as well, it was my dad, because my dad was like, you're a criminal, but he would chat to me like, no, like, make sure you do. Do you know what I mean? And
he wants better for you than he's got for himself.
Exactly. He was never encouraging me to go down the wrong side. So him as well, but mainly my mum, like letting my mum down and that disappointment and things like that. Do you know what I mean? And I did let her down a few times as I got older, but then obviously not detrimental.
Because you know what it is with what, like, I don't wait, so we're all the same, but I feel like, especially like Caribbean, like we call them freshies, isn't it? Yeah. So people that are like Caribbean, African, Asian, Arab, South Americans, I feel like it's very, because it's like usually big families. The embarrassment for your mum, like her aunt, her sister, like just say, what, Gavin done that? What, Charlie done that? Do you know what I mean? So it's very much a lot of that stuff when I think of the families that we come from, and then you know, like, I'm bringing shame to the family. My mum's going to have to deal with this one. But
You'd overhear the phone conversations. I remember like thinking, all right, mum, it's bad enough, but you're now telling X, Y, Z. So by the time you do get to the next gathering, everyone's just looking at you like you're, you know what I mean?
You know your business. And your cousins start ribbing you like, right about no, I get you. I get you. All right, I want to know, like, tell me about that, one of the hardest things that you've had to go through in life, like, and how you got through that. Like something that's really affected you that maybe people don't really know.
The hardest things. I think obviously it's morbid, but it's more death. To be honest with you, it's more death. Like I've had very close people to me die, and then close people to my people die. Yeah, and I don't think anything's more important than that. Do you know what I mean? And I always feel like when that happens, you get like a bit of revelation or perspective. You look in a bit because you're like, wow, we got a short time here, you know, like got to make the best of it, or we got to maybe change the way we're living because you've seen something that's gone wrong or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I think like death is something that not like it's hard to deal with, but it can literally help. Yeah, it can be, and it can when they're very close people to you, it can be very difficult. And I really imagine being really young. I've never had to deal with it when young, but I've got cousins and stuff who've dealt with losing their father young. Do you know what I mean? And like having to understand all that and grow up is challenges. I would say there's been a lot of personal things like which everyone goes through, but I think real life stuff is I think it's death, and I think that's been most challenging.
And if that's like something that's affected you, how did you deal with?
I always feel like in the way I deal with things is to be real and honest with myself. I don't try and hide away from it. Do you know what I mean? If I need to speak to family or a friend about it, I'll do. Just say how I feel. But if I feel like I need to process it for myself, I'll do. Sometimes I'll remove myself from people just so I can figure out how I'm thinking and feeling. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just sort of burying it under the sand and going back to work or
of course.
Yeah, I don't think that works for me. So sometimes I might remove myself. But obviously when it's somebody like it's a friend's, you know, like something like then you're more thinking about them. So it's not really about you. So you then start having to think
how it affects
how can I,
All right, and like obviously I know you and I think you just vaguely touched on it. So is faith something that's quite important to you?
Yeah, like I suppose like I think bettering yourself, yeah, you can have good role models, you can have good circle of friends and all those things, yeah, and they will definitely make an impact. Do you know what I mean? But I think bettering yourself, I think I found that faith has been something that sort of keeps me in check because you can't hide from the truth if that makes any sense. And you know, the scriptures have been there for years. Do you know what I mean? I just think you can't hide from the truth.
You're Muslim?
No, I'm not Muslim.
Yeah, I am. I know you're not. What are you, Christian? Yeah,
Christian. Yeah.
Inshallah, you become a Muslim. But no. So like,
but I think like there's certain things in life that you can't escape, and sometimes that we get to a certain age, you don't. I don't know if you mean to, but you don't want to hear something from someone else. Like, oh, Charlie, you should do this. You shouldn't do that. You get to a certain life, like, I know what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? You can be a bit ignorant, but if you can read the Bible, for instance, or you pray with other people, I feel like there's some things that you just can't hide from. You know what I mean? And the way we should live and the way we shouldn't live. Do you know what I mean? There's so many good examples of what we should. And does that mean I'm perfect? No, far from it. But it just means that I'm trying to work or live in a better way. Do you know what I mean?
So would you say you've always been someone that's like, always been a Christian?
No. My family have been. Like, especially from on my mum's side. And my nan was a devout Christian. My mum is.
And obviously she lived with you for a period of time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've had good influence, and all my cousins and siblings, we've all had that influence, but I didn't live like that growing up. Do you know what I mean? We went to church when I was young because you have to go to church. And obviously when I didn't need to go to church, I didn't go to church. You know what I mean? And then, but the good thing is about where I found my faith, and my wife as well, is that I found it at a time when it was my choice. Do you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Obviously,
elaborate on that a bit more when you say my choice.
Obviously, like kids, there's some kids who grow up in the church and they just do it out of what you do. You have to do it. This is what we do. This is what we do. We go to church, and then sometimes you can just be a habit, but you're not actually, you know what I mean? But for me, I'd been through certain things in life like everyone else does. And sometimes you're just trying to find a bit of understanding. And also, you know that you might have some behavioral problems or some habits that, you know what, if I look in the mirror, I might need a bit of help with making sure do you know what I mean? And I just felt that being around like-minded people who not are professing that, oh, we're perfect, but also like just trying to get yourself living a better life, and also realizing that I think life's about servitude and being able to help people. But if we're always thinking about ourselves, I'm not going to be able to think about anyone else. Do you know what I mean? And I think the Bible centers a lot on love and servitude and stuff like that. And it means that sometimes I think I would have reacted to a lot of things that I've been through, even in football, with you know, different aspects was happening in football, I would have reacted if it was just on me, on my flesh, on how I want to act and how I've been grown up to act in certain things. I would have literally, I probably wouldn't have lasted it, even at Dulwich Hamlet so long with some of the provocation that I've dealt with. Do you know what I mean? So when I deal with it on a faith level, initially you can annoy me, but when I come back to pray about it and I think about it on a faith level, I'm all right. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. That's a nice insight into like your feelings and your faith and whatnot. So Leia, so we were saying earlier, you was talking about your academy that you set up with Junior, with Cads, Aspire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about Aspire?
Yeah, Aspire was the main thing for Aspire was like we got kids, we were getting young men from the Peckham, Lewisham, Brixton area mainly. We're still getting kids from even further afield. They were the main areas, and obviously at that age, 16, 17, 18, the gang culture is rife in all of those areas. Do you know what I mean? Brixton, you know what I mean? So we were thinking, look, they're good, talented people, right? They're good, talented people, and probably what they're lacking is someone or people encouraging them to stay on that path because there's something there for you. And that something doesn't have to be, I'm going to make a footballer, a professional footballer in the Premier League. We're not selling dreams. We're saying you can make something of yourself. So you could be a semi-professional footballer and it can bring you an income alongside another income. That's the general one, you know what I mean? The one was achievable. Not to say, we've still helped boys be professionals and they've earned a decent living for themselves and their families. But I think you can't tell every kid that comes through that that's going to happen. So we were trying to give them and their parents, look, they're coming in with us, and our job when they leave us is that they're skilled up to be able to go to university possibly if they want to, or going straight into work if they want to because of what they learned in the college. Possibly take the route in football and have a joint. Do you know what I mean? So that was our job. That is our job. We always look at it as from 16 to 18 and maybe a little bit onwards. We should have been able to expose you to get your skill set better in and out of the classroom. Yeah, that you can now be employable.
What made you was it your own experiences? What made you guys think we're going to set up this academy, we're going to set up Aspire?
I think there was a lot, the talent was very, very good then. So in our area at that time, when we started it, the players that made it was a lot from our area, from the South London area. A lot of them made YTS and professionals, yeah. But then behind them, who didn't make it, there was a lot of good players. So it was almost like, these guys should really be professionals.
You're like, right, he's actually better than him.
It was just unfortunate there was so many. Yeah. So the clubs there's only so much we're going to take. Do you know what I mean? So they've taken these guys, but then left behind were still guys who are actually good. So we're going, hold on a minute. They can still do well, but they could easily be forgotten because we got these guys. They probably think we're not going to be footballers. Let's look into different things. So we were just like, look, no, we can extend your development. Do you know what I mean? But also give you a realistic opportunity outside of football as well. Do you know what I mean? Literally just not leave them to their own devices in a sense. Do you know what I mean? And along with that, there was a lot of mentoring, which wasn't...
Yeah, that people don't know, they don't really see that. It's like the work we do. That's just part and parcel of it. And people that's the stuff you don't get paid for. Do you know what I mean?
There's no hours. There's no hours.
Yeah,
because
it's just like you're a father, an uncle or a big brother to all these young people that you're working with. And I suppose that I've had kids ring me literally at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Oh yeah, I just come out, I just got arrested or this or that. There isn't no hours for that.
Well, I don't think we could really be surprised in the amount of years we've been in it and the amount of scenarios that's happened and things that, phone calls or things that we've seen with young people, what they're involved in, or even just their home life. You think, wow,
it's chaotic.
But like I said, there's no hours. So training's XYZ time. You think, boom, we're going home. No. Yeah. There's always going to be someone you need to speak to because they've got something going on. And I think you've got to buy into that. If you want to get the best out of these people and you want to give them a chance, you've got to buy into that. You can't be like, I'm clocking off at 10 because that's when the session's finished. No. They don't buy into you.
You've got to, something that, it was a quote, but I can only remember the bit from it is, you got to be willing to believe that person's story. Do you get what I'm saying? Because a lot of times you can say something to me, but if I don't believe it, I'm going to be a certain way with you. You've actually, you're saying, buy into it. You've actually really got to be willing to believe that person's story. If that person's telling you, especially young people, well, you know what? My mum's just done X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
if you've never really experienced that, you don't really know that, you're like, oh, okay.
And doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything to you. And you could even be judgmental of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you need to have empathy and they need to know that. And also sometimes like I was known like between me and Junior's like very loving and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? You know that, you know what I mean? And I could be more like the harsher person who say, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but what are you going to do about it type of person? And sometimes they're like, oh, I'm not ready for that. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, we have to deal with this. We can't just sit in that moment of you're in a bad situation forever. We've got to do something now. How do we get out of it? I'm more like trying to get out the other side.
Can you give me an example, like the reality of some of the young people you work with, their realities? Like, obviously I know, but like, could you give like maybe an example? Like I know one of your young people that you work with that was in, I think it was in your academy, got killed or whatnot. Like, can you like touch on that? Give me examples of some of the young people you're working with.
We had, over the years, we've had boys who have, obviously they're coming from different areas. So coming from different areas, you're coming to play football, but obviously on the way, you could get yourself in sorts of trouble, you know what I mean? So we've had boys not make it to football and been stabbed. On the way, like halfway through the training session, we're getting phone calls from the police. And this guy said he was on his way to you. He's been stabbed. He's at this hospital. Session's cut. We're going to the hospital. Players in a training session, and the police are coming onto our field
to nick them.
And we're like, we don't know what's going on. So we're seeing the police going up. What's going on? Do you know what I mean? And then, to be fair to the lad, he just starts walking towards the police. He's like, you've got me. We're like, what's going on? Then obviously we have to follow up and find out because we don't want to leave him in their care. We don't know, you know. So we're finding out what's going on. We're getting so deep. Nothing to do with football coaching. Do you know what I mean? A few boys have come to football because they're scared or they're involved in stuff out, and they've got guns and knives in their football bag, and we're having to like, no.
And they're supposed to have boots in them.
You can't, I like you and I want you to, but you can't be here like that because you're endangering all the other guys. But at the same time, you don't want to lose them because you got to protect the group, but you don't want to lose them.
Because you could generally lose them.
Exactly.
Life,
so you have to say, look, you can't come here like that, but at the same time, I want you to be here. Do you know, it's hard like to tell the line. And obviously, like you touched on with young Rio McFarlane lost his life at, I think, 17 or 18, I think he was. So just at the start of his life, really. The difference for me is he wasn't just another one of the boys who we had. I knew him since he was born because his older brother was one of my close friends, Anthony. So it's literally like, it was a bit strange for me because I'm like, I actually know this boy. I know his family, like literally spent hours in the house.
Part of your family.
Yeah, and then seen him grow. You know, like it's good to see someone grow. You've seen from the start, seen him grow. And then, you know, unfortunately, he was on the wrong end of something that had nothing to do with him and lost his life. And that affected me and Junior, but it affected his peer group deeply. And he had a good peer group. The group that he was around, like the boys 1 year older, boys his age, and like there was a very tight group in the academy. They had a good bond, a good family sort of atmosphere. Even the parents all got along well. And Rio passing it really affected some of the boys. It really affected. Some of them didn't come back to football for weeks, like, and some of them didn't even really do as well as I think they could have. I think that was a big dent on them, and we wasn't even old enough ourselves to know how to
manage that.
Yeah, we tried our best to understand, and some of them are obviously a little bit closed because they're processing it, so it's a very deep thing.
Was he stabbed, shot?
He was shot. Yeah, he was shot. He was shot. But again, another boy really early on, good lad, nice boy. He came with they came from Deptford. There's about 2 or 3 of them travelled together. Good player, never caused any problems, like really nice, well-mannered. One day we were travelling up to a game to play Brighton in the FA Youth Cup, and he played and done really well. And we were like, oh, you know what? He's better than we thought he was. We're literally talking about him like that. Yeah. And then I think weeks later we found that he died in his sleep. Like, and just like, what? Like, he was with us yesterday, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Died in his sleep, and it was like, how do we like help these guys who his age group, and do you know what I mean? It was terrifying like, for them. Do you know what I mean? So there's been a lot of things that we've had to deal with the academy.
And, like just hearing that, like it's quite. Well, I don't even know the word is. Like it's stressful. It's quite emotional.
Yeah.
And like for you and Drew, like obviously it's your experiences of working in football, but then you're dealing with other people's mental health. Like, because it sounds like it's complex and so much issues going on, like mentally. How do you, and I'm sure you've got young players that you played with that have got certain issues mentally, like whatnot. How do you deal with your own mental health when it comes to things like this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the training for you guys? Like, who's like supporting you? Obviously, I'm sure your family, like your wives and whatnot.
Yeah.
What's it like for you lot as well doing that? Having to deal with these things?
To be fair, I don't think we actually think about that question, what you just said. Do you know what I mean? I think you're always just trying to see if you can either listen to them and understand or help. Do you know what I mean? But you're not actually thinking, wow, how's my mental state? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think we get to that point where we're thinking like that. Do you know what I mean? But like when you think of some of the young players, really talented players, and then they've had, you know, different mental issues because of the pressure inside of football, outside of football, at home, there's a lot of things that people don't understand. Yeah. And obviously we'd never mention people, but there's been a lot of players that have literally been at the brink of, you know, literal breakdown. Do you know what I mean? And then whilst we're doing that, we've either got an academy to run or we've got the first team at Dulwich to run. But that can't be more important than this person's life. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, most definitely.
It's about resources as well. It's about trust and resources, because I suppose if you used 3 leagues higher, you've got a team that can say, right, do you know what? You may have come to Gav or Jew first about this, but I'm going to take over now and we're going to really help you. Yeah. It's a one-stop shop. With at our level, it's like, if I buy into you, I'm talking to you, I ain't talking to no one else. There ain't anyone else anyway.
It's just literally you and Junior. Obviously, there's been people along the way, but it's just like literally that's the team, isn't it? You've got other people, of course, but it's just literally you guys. So you said about like setting up the academy, Aspire Academy, and working with the young people, so we understand like how it's come about, what its job is to do. How many young people would you say off head that you've moved into professional football?
You should have asked Junior this. I'm terrible at this. I think it's something like 60 to 70 professionals.
That's amazing.
Yeah, some of them have gone direct from the academy or direct from the first team. Some of them have gone into non-league, then been, you know what I mean? Yeah. But the boys who've actually been at the academy or been in the first team for us, it's soon 16, 70. Junior will give you the exact, because he's like a stat like that, do you know what I mean? But I suppose I'm probably more focused on, can we get someone else in, do you know what I mean? But to a point though, that was a success for us at the start, like, because we didn't know we could do it. Do you know what I mean? So once we were moving boys in professional, like the buzz was unbelievable. Like, wow, we actually helped this guy get in. Do you know what I mean? But then after a few years, it became, for us, it wasn't like the be all and end all. It was great. We knew that we'd maybe helped or influenced someone's life, which is we're always going to be happy for. But we weren't shouting and screaming about that part of it, that element. It was more the group. How many? Say we had 30 in the year, in that year group. How many of these can we say they're success stories? Is a success story professional? No, not necessarily. It might be being able to finish your course and go on to further things. So we were just looking at now, how many of these people can we have as success stories? Because some of them were good at football, were bad in the classroom. So we were literally starting them again in the classroom. So if they ended up finishing their course, and then that's a success.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? So we were looking at what is success. Whereas before it was just like, we made a professional, That was a success. But then we had to change our outlook on what actually a success is. If I can try and help you do something what you wasn't even prepared to do, forget capable, but what you weren't even prepared to do, by the time you leave us, then I think that's a success. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, no, I get that. So you spoke about, touched on Aspire, and then you said the first team, because like for people that probably don't understand, I understand it. What's Aspire and what is the first team?
We set up the academy with the council, Southwark Council originally, for the first 3 years, and the council funded the academy. And then competitively, we needed to partner with a non-league club And then we had a few clubs like Croydon Athletic and a few wanted for us to partner, but obviously I'm from Peckham, and Dulwich was probably the most senior status club at the time. So we approached Dulwich, and then at that time, me and Junior were about to play for Dulwich. Junior had a season there, and the owner at the time wanted me to play. So I thought, wow, this is a great, like, it works well. I'm going to go and play for the team, which like literally around the corner from my house. And then start the academy there. And at the time, they didn't really, they had a youth team, but it wasn't like, nothing was really going on. So the owner was like, yeah, I bought into this. Probably at that time, I think the first team didn't use their players. We were achieving way above what we should have. We played Fulham in the Youth Cup in the first year. I think we lost on penalties. And they had players that they bought for 650k. Like our boys were like literally just put together. So like, them boys could have got in the first team.
That was a proper team. I remember that,
unbelievable. Good group as well. Good group. But they should have been in the first team straight away. No problem. But it was almost like he's a bit young, and really I think Dulwich might probably missed the trick. And then obviously when we got the chance to be the first team manager, we knew that these kids are not so far away from playing. So we would promote them into the first team early, and we had no budget to speak of. So really, it was a window of opportunity for the kids as well. And then obviously they're players. Some will go on straight away to pro. Some will just have a long career, like Nyron. Like he played in the first team at 17. Do you know what I mean? He just left last season. So it's like unbelievable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what is your relationship? You're talking about, what's your relationship like with the players that you've moved on, the players that have just played through Aspire at Dulwich? Like, do you keep those relationships? What's it like? Because I'm sure you're like a conveyor belt. You have kids coming in and out every year. What's your relationships like?
I think the contact we've had with kids is like, we average like 30 kids a year. Right, but sometimes it's been a bit like 35. So there's a lot of kids over like a space of 17 to 18 years. Do you know what I mean? And they're men. So like a lot of them are men now. Do you know what I mean? Like the relationships are very good. Like there's some of them are like have got their own businesses and probably might not have been that way inclined, but you know, from scaffolding down to working in the city and running your own company, like the range of things that the boys are doing is unbelievable. And there's times where I've used some of their services. Do you know what I mean? It makes you want to use their services. Do you know what I mean? And there's times where some of the others have gone, I want to get into youth work. What advice would you give? Can you connect me with so and so? So obviously we do.
So like, so if you've got someone that's got his own scaffolding company, you might have a young boy that's come through that wants to do that, and you're like, all right, you know what?
Go and get your thingy there. 100%.
So it's recruitment as well. It's just everything. There's
100%. It's like a little bit like a family type of thing. Do you know what I mean?
I get that.
So and also, like obviously COVID we can't do it, but we always like get some of the past people back to speak to the current group, and they're not always the professional guy. It's guys who've just done really well in whatever field they're in, because I think that opens up the young people's eyes that you can be successful, but it doesn't have to be quote unquote the professional. Do you know what I mean?
I get that.
So it's just like letting them know that there's levels of success that, you know what I mean, everyone in this room can probably achieve. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get it. You just you know what, you just brings me on to my next point, because you just mentioned that scary word, COVID. How's that been? Because I know, like, I'm a football fan, you know that. I like season ticket holder at Tottenham. I don't know why I had to say that, but I put that out there.
I can't believe you said that.
No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. But I know, like, for me, like, I'm not one of them people, my mental health, I'm fine. But seriously, like, it is a madness, like, especially in terms of football. I know that's something I pay for to go to every other week. Do you know what I mean? And that's just been none and void, no fans there. But I'm saying, for a semi-professional football club, how does that affect in terms of wages, being able to pay, not being able to pay, like people that are dependent on that money, that's their money to survive for their family and whatnot. How's that COVID affected, two questions, how has it affected you immediately, and in terms of football, what are the effects?
I think immediately, we were talking about this before, weren't we? Like immediately, I was like everyone else, like at the start of it, I was watching the news every night. And then, you know, I was literally in a Bible study with a friend, and he was just like, this isn't what we do. We don't look at worldly things and start getting like overly obsessed with it. Do you know what I mean? It's a bigger, and to be fair, since that, I was just like, not watching the news. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not following all this, because it can take you all over the place. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, you know, people have lost their lives, so we can't just say that, nothing's dismiss it. We can't dismiss it. But I just think you've got to try and get some balance and some context for yourself, and everyone copes differently. Do you know what I mean? But in terms of work, it affected myself, Junior, and the staff. But my thing is for the players.
That's their outlet, some of them, especially the young ones.
It's their outlet. Yeah. It's their window of opportunity to forge a career. Yeah. So some of them haven't played properly for a full season for 2 years.
That's mental.
So that 2 years could have been the 2 years that they could have pushed on to have a forge a career. Gone. You ain't getting that back.
Just like for people that don't know, because obviously I know, give some of the scope when you say like you've moved people into professional. What sort of figures are we talking about? Like, so from being a young person that's from Peckham, not getting any money, to being on what sort of wages will be, just not the person, like, but ballpark. What sort of thing are we talking about?
We've had kids who literally just the talent alone is good, but like they were living in homes. Like, so they're coming to train with us. We didn't even know at the time, living in a home with mum and stuff like that, like crazy stuff. Like, they put you in a hostel sort of thing. And realistically, he was doing some stuff what he shouldn't be doing because he just thought, I need to help my family, And then all of a sudden, like we saw something. It was like, if you can fix yourself up, you're a good talent. You got good talent. If you can not do that sort of stuff, we're gonna really push and support you. He did it. Did really well. He moved on to a professional club. Was on an all right wage, nothing sweet, but now he's a first team player. Do you know what I mean? And he's on like 3K. Do you know what I mean?
What's that, 3K a week?
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, so you're saying,
but why I say him is because that's like an average wage. We all hear about the exorbitant fees in the Premier League, but sometimes you can't be talking about that because not everyone's going to be getting that. We've got to talk about like realistic things that can be achieved. So everyone feels like, you know what, if I can make League One. I can probably make League One. Or, do you know what I mean?
But you've had players on those astronomical wages now as well.
Yeah, we have, of course. But like, it's misleading to talk about that because then everyone thinks, I'm going to make 50K a week.
Of course.
So he's just trying to sort of give an example of something that's probably tangible from a lot of people, or more people can maybe get that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. All right, so you were saying like COVID and like it affecting like the players and their opportunities and whatnot.
100%, I think so. I think like there's obviously if a season stops, you're not able to play, you're not able to showcase your talent, you're not able to develop. That's I think a lot of people haven't understood that side of the impact. And then obviously that's mentally a problem because you're now that the clock's ticking, but it's not for no fault of my own. I can't, do you know what I mean? So my career opportunities in football are dwindling by the day because of nothing, not because of me, but because of this pandemic. So there's that. They got to deal with the mental side. Then there's a lack of income. Do you know what I mean? Because if you set yourself out to be a football player, this is what I do too. So there's a lack of income. And then if they then have to go and get another job, what is that job? Like, it's not something they've thought about. They've not had to think about it. So now they're having to think about something new, but it's forced upon them. So is it going to be the right decision, or is it going to be something that's rushed because I need the money? And sometimes you do the wrong things. There's so many things that people don't really talk about and understand, and probably don't have the empathy for the players, to be honest.
No, I get that. All right, so one of the things I like to ask, do you have a favourite quote? And if you do, what's the quote and why?
Do you know what? I don't. I've got a lot of quotes over the time, and I think they're probably pertinent to the situation you're in. There's one from a song, like the opening to a song, someone says like, you know what I mean? And he said like, hard work's the key to success, and some people expect to be like the best without putting the work in, basically. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's like hard work is the key to success, but some people expect to be the best without putting the work. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, for me, that was like, it resonated for me. It's like, you know what? People think it's talent. Like talent, I think, is overrated. You do need talent, but you need work ethic. Do you know what I mean? You need work ethic. Nothing's just going to come to you. Do you know what I mean? And you sometimes, with that work ethic, you make your own luck. Do you know what I mean? And that perseverance, you make your own luck.
And that's I 100% agree with you, because I feel like even with, like, sometimes I look at myself and I think, you lot will say, you're talented, you're good at this or you're good at that. And then sometimes I feel like I'll just use that to get by. Where if I really do put in the work and really say, you know, I've got an interview with Gav, let me go and study. Let me know exactly the questions that I'm going to ask him. Let me not just rely on, he's my pal, I can freestyle. Do you know what I mean? The levels that you'll get to. So that resonates for me as well. And it's something that I constantly battle with within my own life. But then I'm sure like the young people we work with,
Yeah.
A lot of them have got talent, like super talent.
Yeah.
But have you got that work ethic? Are you willing to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning and start and train?
So it makes a difference. It makes a difference. Like we've seen boys, men, leave us with like very minimal talent and go and play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But the work ethic, the mentality
Mm.
separates them from boys that are way more talented than them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just because they're like, look, I want this. I'm prepared to do whatever I got to do, make sacrifices. Do you know what I mean?
No,
to get to where I need to get to.
Yeah, 100%. All right, another question I got for you. So, taking into consideration everything you said, and we're looking at the current climate, this COVID, vaccines, whatever it is, I don't know, everything that's going on. If you could be an animal, any animal, what animal would you be and why?
I'd probably be a tiger.
Tiger.
The reason why I say that, it's weird. It's not, I haven't thought about this obviously, but I just feel like we're in a space at the moment where a lot of things have been forced on us. A lot of where our lives have changed because we're having to be a certain way, wearing masks and doing this. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like a tiger's not someone who wants to be tamed. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of us are being tamed at the moment. So yeah, that would probably be my reason.
That's bang on point. That's bang on point. And I was like, when I was doing my research, I saw something about the Blacklist, an award like that had you on, like I think it's like 50 most influential or something like that. The Blacklist award. What was that about?
I think I can't remember the guys who do it. Leon Mann and Rodney Hines, who works at The Voice, they created this list. I think what they were trying to say is that a lot of black people in football are doing some good stuff, but there's no platform to celebrate it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's actually a good, concept, and they've been doing it for probably like 10 years now. But I didn't know much about it, but one year I got called to say like, oh, you're on this thing. And I was like, didn't really know much about it. Then obviously you have to know what it's about, do you know what I mean? And it was just basically about recognition, and it's like, there's different categories. So I think I won the same award 2 years in a row, actually, and it was like up and coming coach or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's good because it raises awareness. It makes other people say, oh, wow, like, didn't even know he was doing that.
Yeah.
Or people who do know, it rams it down your throat a little bit, do you know what I mean? But there's different categories in this, like there's media, do you know what I mean? There's management, there's coaches, there's all different types of categories within the sport, and they're just sort of showcasing like what people are doing. So if no one else is showcasing it, we're going to do it, that sort of thing, do you know what I mean? So
100%.
So yeah, I was very proud to get the award. Unfortunately, I never ever got to pick it up because I was at football. So every time they had the awards night, I was out training.
Do you know
what I mean?
As you do.
But you know what? Sometimes it ain't about the physical.
Yeah, it's the job, innit? Yeah. But yeah, that brings me on to the next point when we were talking about like you being a black man within football. Obviously, to the naked eye or to people that watch football, I don't know. I think the last time I read it was something like between 30 and 40% of professional footballers in the UK are black, right? So that's 30 to 40%. But now when we go into management, those percentages are nowhere near. So I think I saw in the Football League, I don't know, you probably know more than me, in the Football League, I don't know how many clubs there are. 92. And maybe this was old, but I'm saying this was within the last year or two.
I don't think much has changed.
There was 3 black managers out of 92
I think that might have changed. That might be lower, maybe.
Yeah, so there was 3 out of 92 clubs, but then in terms of players, there was like 30 to 40% representing. And obviously, you're a football manager, a black man and a football manager. What are the obstacles you see and the issues and whatnot, and why do you think that representation is that?
I think we all need to be comfortable with each other, like in every working environment, you normally employ someone that you can be comfortable with in terms of, because, once I employ you as, say the manager, we need to have a lot of dialogue. We need to understand each other and stuff like that. And sometimes different cultures, if you don't ever do that, then it might be a little bit of a hurdle for you. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like black players have beaten the hurdle of being able to get into football because, your talent says you should get into football. That hurdle's gone now. The next hurdle is obviously now management. Are we, going to beat that hurdle to get into management? Do you know what I mean? And our boardroom's going to accept. How do you look at a black man running your club? Is that the image you want? Do you know what I mean?
Do you think it comes down to that a lot of times?
Yeah, 100%. This is the person who's the manager of the club, so that's almost like the face of the club. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe your fan base doesn't want that. Maybe you might want it as the owner, but you know that your fan base is not that type of fan base. Do you know what I mean? There's all these sorts of things that come into it, and the higher...
It's quite shocking, to be honest. Like, when you're because you're in it, so I know, but like I'm hearing it and I'm thinking, how? Like, football, like how?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Football's the thing, even though we know the fans can be a certain way, but I'm saying for me, it's the thing that I think breaks those barriers. And it always did for me when I was younger. I'm talking about playing. I'm not talking about, because when you go to management, it's a different level.
Yeah.
But playing, it's like, oh, but can you play? Come in, you're young.
Anyone
let's go.
Can play.
Like, we bounce it together.
100%.
We used to play with people that can't even speak, we don't speak the same language.
100%.
But we speak football. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, hearing that.
Perception.
Yeah.
Can a black manager, do you know as much as your counterpart? Like, almost like, I don't think we've been given that, respect of knowledge. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just like quick, strong, athletic. These are the things that I say. Thinking, maybe not. Do you know what I mean? That's not the characteristic that's been painted of us in the media and stuff like that, and in people's minds. Do you know what I mean? Clever, can think, and you know what I mean. So I think that's probably it. I think I've lasted a long time, obviously at one club. And there's so many different reasons for that. Do you know what I mean? Myself and Junior probably should have been headhunted a long time ago.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, with what you've done, like, it's nothing short of miraculous. Do you know what I mean? So
we should have been headhunted a long time ago, but we haven't been. Do you know what I mean? If you're a football club and you're thinking about being economical, we've sold so many players. Do you know what I mean? From kids who have basically don't deserve to be, like, they're not, oh, you should be a pro. They come from nowhere. Yeah. And then you're worth money now. We've made them be worth money, and we've sold so many players, yeah? So if you're a club, you can forget, I don't care what colour they are. Yeah, I like this. Do you know what I mean?
Like what they're doing. If you're doing it with no resources, basically, what are you gonna do when you got like a machine behind you?
You've seen where we train
Come
kids,
on, bro.
like, yeah. So exactly that. But we never got that. And then even at Dulwich, we've got 2 promotions, in 10 years. So it isn't like, wow, it's decent, but it's but the fact that I think we were finalists another 6 years in that out of that 10. So we've always been.
But you've taken Dulwich to where they haven't been before, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So we personally thought we should have probably, because of the 2, like, we've been competitive, but we've also shown that we can develop and be an asset to a club economically, and we realised that, you know what, maybe it is a bit of a closed window. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably why we've lasted at Dulwich that long, and also, like, being at one club so long has had its own obstacles, like, from above, like the hierarchy, the guys in the boardroom who, want to control you and make you be a certain way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. No, and that hasn't been easy. We wouldn't. I think I don't really care. I'm long in the tooth now, innit? But before I wouldn't have never spoke about it. But some of the racial connotations we've dealt with from within our own club, it's been mad. Yeah. And stereotyping and trying to push and pull us because you should be lucky you're here. Yeah. Rather than hold on, just treat me as another manager. If I'm doing my job, that's it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, with years and years of doing well, but still being treated like you're lucky you're here. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But not everyone, don't get me wrong, not everyone. There's been some really good guys that's been at the club at that level we've worked with, and they've been great. And there've been people that have told me how the general perception of us is. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, like I say, there's big obstacles in football. I think there's people in football that genuinely want to change it. And I also think there's people in football are just maybe a little bit ignorant. It might not even be racist. It might just be a little bit ignorant. Yeah. And that's it. We don't sometimes make too much of things sometimes. I think it just might be like, I don't know this. I'm not comfortable with it. Just big ignorance.
And and in terms of ambitions for the future, like with Aspire, everything you're doing within football, what would you say? Where are we looking to go to? Where are we heading? Coming out of this whole pandemic.
Obviously, I've always wanted to manage as high as I possibly can. Do you know what I mean? And that might mean like taking a different route for me. Do you know what I mean? It might mean me possibly going into like a professional environment, working with younger age groups and building myself up. Like, I feel like I can take that step backwards as well. Do you know what I mean? And some people say it's not even backwards anyway. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm happy to do something like that. I think Aspire will always, serve the community as we always have done on and off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? We'll always do that, regardless. But and also, I don't even know, my next move might not even be football. Do you know what I mean?
Nah, no way.
Do you know what? I think it's about happiness. It's about happiness, and then like like you've touched on, trying to get into football as a manager, and the door is not always open. You can spend your life trying to wrestle the door open, which I think I've done. Do you know what I mean? Or you could go, do you know what? I've got a lot of capabilities elsewhere, and I could probably have a more peaceful life without. Do you know what I mean? So I can't say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm very ambitious to be in the sport. But I'm also not silly. My main job is to enjoy my life and provide for my family. So there's many different ways to do that. Do you know what I mean?
No, I definitely hear that. And finishing up, been amazing, like speaking to you on this level anyway. But finishing up, looking at how you're feeling right now, if you could choose a weather, so any form of weather, whether it be any season, any form of weather, and it was encompassing how you're feeling.
The sun, always, man. Always, Like the thing is, like where we've come from, it can be seen as darkness. Like I said at the start, like growing up in the States, but I saw the light. You know what I mean? Like with all the way it's painted, the pictures painted, I loved my childhood. Do you know what I mean? So you've got a choice on how you perceive things and how you want to, look at things. And I always look at it with the sun. Do you know what I mean? So like. My character's strange. I don't like losing. I don't like not achieving. So I will display that, but I can recover quickly because, like, do you know what I mean? I've got that. My overall thing is, do you know what? It's cool. We'll go again. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I hear that. Been a pleasure, Gav.
Yes, bro.
Lovely, bro.
Nice one. Nice one.
Sweet.